I am speaking with photographer Joe Wallace, who has created an absolutely beautiful and moving exhibit of portraits of people living with dementia. The exhibit is called The Day After Yesterday, Portraits of Dementia. And it is on display right now at Gloucester's Senior Care Office at 49 Blackbird Center through January 22nd. But you can also view this whole experience online, which is how I saw it. Um, Particularly with COVID, it's probably a great way to experience it. But if you can get to senior care offices, that's great too. So, Joe, hello. Thank you so much for being with us.
Hello, good morning. Thank you for having me.
And why don't you first of all introduce yourself to us as a photographer?
So my name is Joe Wallace. I am a photographer based in Carlisle, Massachusetts. I've been a professional photographer for just over 20 years. And yeah.
And were portraits what you did, or did this project come along separate from your professional work?
I am a portrait photographer by profession. I do mostly commercial work. This is a personal project that I started working on in 2016.
Well, I think I know the answer to this because it is embedded in the show, but why don't you tell us what inspired you to do this project?
Like millions of people, I have a family connection with dementia. My grandfather, Joe Jenkins, was diagnosed with Alzheimer's when I was in my late 20s. His wife, my maternal grandmother, Bibi, had vascular dementia. My mother has been participating in a Alzheimer's study at the Brigham here in Boston for the last 3 years. And through my experience with my family connection, I felt as a society and in my community specifically, we could do a better job of making this a less taboo subject, to have a better outcome, both better healthcare outcomes, but also just socially and emotionally, doing a better job of supporting the people in our communities living with dementia.
Mm. And we'll talk about what the exhibit looks like and how there are these, beautiful biographies that you attach to each portrait. But back to your personal story, was your grandfather's and your grandmother's experience something that you talked about in the family growing up? And was your mother, was this a conversation your mother was aware of and now she's suffering with this? How did the conversations go in your family is what I'm asking.
I think like many people, when we had the first diagnosis with my grandfather, we didn't really know anything about dementia or Alzheimer's. I think we were really set back on our heels. I think there was some fear about what that meant, what the diagnosis entailed, how long he would live, how we would take care of him, would it affect our family, would he remember us? This cascade of fear based on the limited discourse that you can have in the media at the time. And fast forward 15 years to my grandmother's experience, I felt like there was this whole community of love and support and knowledge that was available once the diagnosis happened and we were in the thick of it and trying to do our best to learn and to support one another. And I was pretty frustrated that was only available once we were already there. And it seemed to me that there was a huge opportunity, because there's 6 million people diagnosed with this disease in the US alone, that this should be part of the conversation about aging. I mean, not everyone that has Alzheimer's or dementia is over 70. I have photographed people between 30 and 100, but the vast majority of people are of an advanced age. And to me, there's a huge opportunity for this to just be part of the conversation about aging, so we can be emotionally and socially prepared to support one another. At a basic level, it's a goal of telling stories so people can use empathy as a way to connect with one another and support each other.
Hmm.
That's what I personally experienced over time. So I'm trying to take my, years of experiencing that myself and share it with other people to give people hope much earlier in the process.
Well, I have to say, it's just a beautiful photograph of your mother.
Thank you.
And yeah, so, but why don't you talk about the exhibit itself? Talk about what it looks like and your process in talking to these people and how it changed you, or maybe didn't change you, everything you learned.
The process is I interview each person that I photograph. Sometimes the individual, sometimes depending on where they are in their journey with dementia, with a caregiver or a son or a daughter. And we'll talk anywhere between half an hour and 3 hours, and then we make a picture together. I write a story based on my interview with the person and their family. We try to get into their life, their priorities, what's meaningful to them, how dementia has affected them personally and their family, any issues of stigma, healthcare issues, to see what they can share to help someone else who is on that journey. From a photography point of view, I pair one of the biggest stigmas is people feel invisible or stigmatized or unseen. They have the diagnosis and then you're done. You're going to die and you're ignored and no one wants to see or hear from you. So the portraits are all printed quite large. Most of them are over a 1-to-1 ratio. So when you see them in person, they're bigger than you are, which is a way to sort of visually make them impossible to ignore. So when you're in a room of, right now the exhibit is 28 portraits, when you're with all 28 portraits, it feels like you're all together, which is really very powerful. Each portrait is paired with an image from the person when they were aged roughly 18 to 25. Again, trying to break the stigma of people only see the diagnosis, or they see the person with dementia as what's happening to them right now, as opposed to their lifetime of experience. So showing this portrait side by side is a visual device to make it easier for people to consider the whole person, not just this chapter.
And we talked in advance a little bit about the diversity in this collection. Do you want to just review that? You went to so many states and so many different ethnicities. Talk about that for us.
A great person that I photographed and interviewed said to me once, if you've met one person with dementia, you've met one person with dementia. Everyone is different. Everyone's journey is different. Everyone handles it different. And if I considered my goal of the work is to use empathy as a means for connection, to get people to talk about a difficult subject and learn to support one another, I felt it was very important for everyone who sees the show, either in person or online, that they come into the room and they see something, someone, some piece of a story or a portrait that they can identify with. And dementia doesn't discriminate. So I felt very strongly that the work can't either. I wanted to show all different kinds of racial backgrounds, ethnicities, religious beliefs, socioeconomic background, sexual orientation, as many, and geography. So I tried to make sure that everyone is represented, so that when anyone can come and see this exhibit and see someone that they can connect with.
And it's really effective that way. I, going through it, I just really felt as if this is not a disease that you can peg anywhere, whether it's with race or location or anything like that. There is, for our Gloucester listeners, there is a really moving portrait of kind of a well-known local.
His name is actually Phil. People call him Charlie. It's part of the story because everyone calls him Charlie because he managed Charlie's for for years and years and years. So everyone calls him Charlie.
Yeah.
He is a delightful character. He was immediately when we met, full of life. And his wife brought in he won the Greasy Pole one year, I think 1963. So I got to talk to him about that, and he showed me his trophy. And, I photographed him with this sort of triumphant, holding his fist up to show his vitality, after we had talked about winning the Greasy Pole. So he's a wonderful family and really nice to share with me, and both about the positive aspects of his life, his working at the restaurant, and the struggle that he had and his wife had with his dementia.
Yeah.
Trying. So I don't. A lot of the narrative that you see if you Google, Alzheimer's or dementia, is despair, fear, vulnerability, and that's sometimes that is part of the story, but it's only a part of the story. And I feel very strongly that to change the stigma, you need to show people that still live, that still enjoy their life, that still want to see their family and enjoy their friends, and that is as much a part of the story as anything else. So
one of the really beautiful quotes I picked up reading some of these biographies, and I don't remember who said it, but you might: Alzheimer's can't take your soul. I thought that was really moving.
Yeah, I think over and over again, you hear people struggle with how does cognitive decline or cognitive disability affect your identity and your ability to connect with your family. And I think universally people feel like, yes, it becomes more difficult. Yes, you'll need to learn new skills, but the people that you love and care about are still there and still with you. And I've experienced so many moments in person that sort of validate that opinion.
Well, anything else you want people to know about your show or your experience?
I think that, if you've met one person with dementia, you've met one person with dementia. I would dig into the stories. There's really some amazing people in there that will have incredible life lessons to offer, whether you have dementia or not. And I think that, the humanity of everyone that I've interviewed is a gift, and the things that everyone values when they're at that point of their life is sort of universally interesting. I remember as a young person, what people told you was important. And for the most part, that's not what people care about, towards the end of their life journey. And, people talked about their love of their family, of their faith, of their traditions with their friends, the things that they like to eat, memories of, their grandparents. Nobody talked about how much money they made or what kind of car they drove or where they went to college. And I think it's worth noting that, interviewing 60 people age 30 to 100, that's not what people talk about. And I think that's probably important for people to hear. It was for me.
Yeah. That's really, that's there's some wisdom right there for us all right now. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for creating this project and for talking about it today. And I really encourage people to go see it at Blackburn Center or just go online, and we'll include the links here. And
thank you for saying that. The Portraits of Dementia has all of the work, but it also has resources online. If you have questions, there's a way to contact me. There's also a ton of web links on there if you have questions or you want to get some help.
Right. Well, thank you so much. And good luck with will the show go to new places after this?
It's going to the Sawyer Free Library next, so it will stay out on Cape Ann.
That's great.
Through I think February or March.
Oh, wonderful. Wonderful. Yep. Well, thank you again, and good luck to your mom.
Thank you very much. Happy New Year, everyone.
Interested in a sponsorship? Email sponsor@1623studios.org to learn more.